Okay, today I want to talk about a subject that was a request and a comment under one of my previous YouTube videos. In fact, several people have asked me to comment on something called the carnivore diet, which I guess is a currently popular diet. In fact, I actually used this diet. It wasn't called the carnivore diet, but I used something exactly similar to it over a half a century ago, and I'll tell you about that later. But what is the carnivore diet? The carnivore refers to meat eaters. A carnivore is an animal that eats only meat. Cats, for example, are carnivores. But the carnivore diet consists of eating only meat and just meat, possibly fish, but basically just red meat. Followers of the diet consume only animal-based products like beef, pork, poultry, and again, sometimes seafood. But generally, it's just meat. The diet was popularized by Shawn Baker, a former orthopedic surgeon based in New Mexico, who published the Carnivore Diet book in 2018. He also went on a popular podcast show, which basically kind of spread the word about his carnivore diet. He made all sorts of claims on the show. In September 2017, however, his medical license was revoked by the New Mexico Medical Board due to failure to report adverse action taken by a healthcare entity and incompetence to practice as a licensee. In other words, he had his medical license taken away because he was considered an incompetent physician. Does that mean the diet is completely fake? Not really. I mean, his competence as a medical doctor isn't really a true reflection on the diet, but let's talk about the merits of the diet itself and whether it's really useful. The proponents of the carnivore diet also claim that consuming animal protein can help you feel full, provide you with adequate nutrients, which isn't really true. I'll talk about that in a minute, and help you lose weight and build muscle, even help heal autoimmune conditions. Besides Dr. Baker, there's a guy named Jordan Peterson and his daughter, whose name I can't remember. They have a pretty big following, from what I understand. This guy Peterson, I think he's a psychologist. He claims that following the carnivore diet completely cured his chronic tendinitis, which would be of interest to many people who work out, who have tendon problems. His daughter had long-term depression. She said the carnivore diet cured her of depression. Now, I'm not saying these people are lying, but there's also something called the placebo effect. If you think something's going to work, it'll work. And I'm not saying it's the case for these people, but there's nothing inherently in this diet, I'll tell you right now, that's going to cure depression or help cure tendinitis. Nothing in this diet that will do that, other than to eliminate certain, let's say, food elements that could possibly cause inflammation, which would make, for example, processed foods, high sugars, processed fat. These things can cause inflammatory reactions in the body, which would exacerbate or worsen tendinitis. So in that respect, I guess this guy who says that the carnivore diet cured his tendinitis, there could be something to what he says. An all-meat diet will provide a surplus of vitamin B12, zinc, iron, and of course it has a lot of protein. So you're getting some nutrients. The problem with the diet, however, is you're not getting all the nutrients. For example, eating only meat prevents you from getting certain antioxidants, which are important, vitamins, vitamin C. Now, somebody might point out that there was a famous experiment done by an Arctic explorer. I can't remember his name offhand. I've written about it, but this guy, many years ago, he went up to Antarctica and he studied the native Inuit diet, Eskimo diet, and he noticed they live on mostly meat and seafood. So he adopted the diet and he found it to be very healthy, and he went around recommending it to it because he lost weight and he felt better. And to prove the safety of the diet, he had himself admitted to a metabolic ward at Bellevue Hospital in New York. I think his name was Amundsen, if I remember correctly. Him and a colleague had themselves admitted to a metabolic ward where they could be observed by scientists for 1 year while consuming this diet. He had no problems, and surprisingly enough, he didn't even have a vitamin C deficiency, despite the fact that he wasn't eating any fruits or vegetables. Now, it should also point out that this same scientist, an earlier diet that he tried involved only eating seafood rather than meat. The seafood that he ate was very lean, and he got very, very ill on it to the point where he almost died. This was called rabbit's disease because it turns out that when you eat pure protein without any fat, it causes all kinds of metabolic abnormalities that can be very dangerous. So he modified the diet by adding fat, and he should have known better, because if he had watched the Inuit people, they consumed like a lot of fat, like whale blubber and that kind of stuff. And yet for some reason he opted to eat only seafood, which was very ridiculous. But the guy was not really a scientist. He was more or less an explorer. He didn't have any scientific background at all. Anyway, so like I say, the eating only meat and these protein foods does supply a good amount of nutrients, very good source of B12, very good source of iron and zinc. Again, not really, you're lacking vitamin C. I would not count on consuming only meat as a source of vitamin C. I don't think, maybe the meats back then in 1929 had more vitamin C. I don't think meats today contain enough vitamin C to prevent acquiring a vitamin C deficiency disease such as scurvy. Although the truth of the matter is, to prevent the actual vitamin C deficiency disease, you only need to take in 10 milligrams a day of vitamin C. So it's possible you might even get enough vitamin C in an all meat diet to prevent scurvy. I wouldn't try it though, but that's just my personal opinion. Like I say, eating meats alone prevents you from getting a lot of antioxidants. Fruits and vegetables contain, besides vitamins and mineral antioxidants, they contain substances such as flavonoids, flavones, and bioflavonoids, and polyphenols. All of these elements are extremely healthy, and they prevent degenerative diseases such as cancer, cardiovascular disease, and brain disease, including Alzheimer's. They're all involved in that. You won't be getting any of these if you live on a meat diet. From my personal point of view, I think the biggest problem with an all-meat diet is the lack of fiber. You're going to be getting very little fiber. And now, if you follow the diet for a short period of time, maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, the fibers, your body will adjust after a couple of days. But for the first couple of days, you're going to have a raging case of constipation because of lack of fiber. But more importantly, fiber, as derived from fruits and vegetables, are very important to feed what's known as the intestinal microbiome. This is the population of bacteria, fungi, and other organisms that exist in the colon that science has now shown to be very, very important for human health. About 98% of your immune system communicates with the intestinal microbiome. It's involved in obesity. It's involved in disease prevention. It's involved in appetite suppression. And when you deprive the diet of fiber, you're basically starving your intestinal bacteria or your intestinal microbiome. And if you stay on this type of diet for any length of time, you're going to have a lot of health problems, In fact, even low carbohydrate diets that do allow a greater variety of foods in the carnivore diet, even studies have shown even that kind of diet adversely affects the intestinal microbiome. But again, I'm quick to add that these are long-term effects. In other words, if you follow a carnivore diet for a couple of, maybe 4 or 5 weeks, you're probably not going to, other than the initial constipation, which might ease after about a week, you're not going to have a lot of major problems. If you stay on it longer than, let's say, 2 months, I think most people will have some problems. If you stay on it longer than that, you're going to be not very healthy at all. Now, of course, there's anecdotes, and I'll get to that in a minute. Some of the people that have criticized the carnivore diet, because apparently it's become very popular thanks to the appearances of this disbarred orthopedic surgeon and the Petersons. They publicized the diet. A lot of people are on it. It's become popular. So dietitians have gone online and written articles criticizing the diet because it's high in fat. They say meat is high in fat. Meat will cause the fat in the meat will stimulate cardiovascular disease, which I disagree with, because the truth of the matter is there's no real true relationship between saturated fat or the fat in meat, I should say, and cardiovascular disease onset. It's more or less a theory. It's never been shown to be true. And furthermore, if you're active and you're involved in exercise, the fat in the meat becomes irrelevant because you're going to burn it up. And in the carnivore diet, you're not taking in carbohydrates, So your body will use all the fat that you ingest, including the saturated fat. It'll be used as an energy source. So the fat content becomes irrelevant as far as cardiovascular disease. These expert dietitians don't seem to understand that. They think that the saturated fat, even in physically active people who don't consume carbohydrates, somehow going to find a way to the arteries and cause atherosclerosis. Ridiculous, stupid. That's why a lot of these people, to me, they don't have any credibility at all. They also talk about how creatine causes kidney disease. Forget it. Trust me, just having a dietitian's degree or an advanced degree, that does not make you an expert. A lot of these people are clowns, outright clowns. They don't know what the hell they're talking about. All they do is parrot what they learned in school, which a lot of times it has already been proven to be untrue. But I don't want to get into that. That was just a little bit of a off-topic rave. But again, the big problem with this carnivore diet is the lack of fiber. I will add that when you go on a carnivore diet, which is meat only, you will lose weight pretty fast. It really does cause a weight loss, similar to the ketogenic diet, because when you eliminate carbohydrates, after about a day or two, your body starts breaking down glycogen, which is stored carbohydrate in muscle and liver. Each gram of glycogen is stored with 2.7 grams of water. So as your body breaks down glycogen, you're going to show weight loss, and you're also going to eliminate, because of the diuretic effect of the lack of carbohydrates, you're going to also eliminate sodium. So you're going to lose a lot of water weight. So, after a couple of days, you step on the scales. I mean, one person wrote a blog I noticed where, as a woman, she said she lost a pound a day for 7 days on the carnivore diet. She only stayed on the diet for about a week, but she lost a pound a day. And again, this is probably water weight, and probably, again, the loss of sodium and other minerals through a diuretic effect. I doubt if you lose a lot of fat that fast. You can only lose about 3 pounds of fat a week. And in relation to the carnivore diet, how much fat you actually lose, body fat I'm talking about, depends on your caloric intake. I mean, if you go crazy on the carnivore diet and you eat 10 pounds of meat and 5 pounds of chicken and whatever, you'll be ingesting so many calories that you still won't lose any weight, because you still have to, on any diet, a flat statement here, on any diet, you have to have a caloric reduction to lose weight. I don't care whether it's a low carb diet, a low fat diet, any kind of diet, you got to reduce calories. If you consume too many calories on any diet, you're not going to lose any body fat. So again, it depends on the kind of diet you're on. It depends on a lot of it depends on the fatty content of the meat. For example, if you consume very low fat type of meat, on a carnivore diet or skinless chicken, that kind of thing, you'll probably lose weight a little bit faster because you're ingesting less calories by cutting out fat. Gram of fat contains the most dense source of calories at 9 calories per gram compared to 4 for carbohydrate and 4 for protein. So when you cut out fat, of course you're going to lose weight. And also something that's true with the carnivore diet, which is also true with low carbohydrate or ketogenic diets, is the diet is kind of monotonous because you're only limiting the diet to certain foods. And what happens there, and this is my personal experience, is that after a while you get so sick of eating these foods that you just wind up eating less automatically without even trying to. So that alone, the reduction in calories, is going to cause a considerable loss of weight. So that adds to it also. But as I said before, the side effects of the diet include constipation due to lack of fiber. And if you don't eat fish, let's say you only eat the meat like red meat, poultry, chicken, turkey, you're likely going to get a omega-3 deficiency, because fatty fish, sardines, mackerel, salmon, they're the only good food sources of preformed omega-3, which is what you really need. Now, you're also going to probably get a vitamin D deficiency. There's no vitamin D whatsoever in these protein foods, nothing. Egg yolks do contain vitamin D, but the amount found in egg yolks is so minute, you'd have to eat a couple of dozen a day to come even close to getting a therapeutic amount of vitamin D. So vitamin D is another problem. Folic acid, a nutrient found in mainly fruits and vegetables. Again, you're going to be lacking that. Now, somebody might point out, well, what if you take supplements? Well, that is the answer. And this is what I recommend. Nobody talks about this. I haven't read the Carnivore Diet. I haven't listened to these people who advocate the diet. I don't know if they recommend supplements, but I certainly do. If you decide to go on a carnivore diet, by all means, you're going to need food supplements. And remember the word supplement. Key in on that word supplement. You supplement what you aren't getting in your diet, and that goes for any diet. Low carbs, high carbs, fruit diet, vegetarian diet, whatever diet you're on, you have to figure out the nutrients you aren't ingesting, and you have to supplement them to maintain health and prevent illness. Same goes for the carnivore diet. On the carnivore diet, you're going to have to supplement probably a couple of B vitamins, folic acid. You're going to have to supplement vitamin C. Definitely going to have to supplement fiber. Fiber, by the way, is indigestible, so it's not going to affect the rate of weight loss on this type of diet. So you definitely won't need a protein supplement because you're living on meats. You're getting a ton of, that's the really good part about the diet, is that you are getting plenty of protein. A lot of people call the carnivore diet, they compare it to ketogenic diets or low-carb diets. It is somewhat similar to the ketogenic diet, but not really similar to a low-carb diet, for the simple fact that the low-carb diet allows a much greater variety of foods. You can have little fruits, vegetables, and that. There's much less chance of nutritional deficiencies on a low-carb diet compared to carnivore diet. Now, with all this being said, I'm going to tell you that, as I said at the start of this video, I used a carnivore diet, but it wasn't called a carnivore diet. When I was competing in bodybuilding, I hate to admit it, but who am I fooling? A half a century ago, I used what they call a meat and water diet. I basically lived on meat and water. And sometime later on, I went on a different diet. I added eggs because eggs were considered at that time the #1 protein source because of its essential amino acid content. But I actually started on a meat and water diet. And what I did is I ate an average of 3 pounds of meat a day, not all at once. I would divide it into as many as, if I remember correctly, 5, even 6 meals. But it was only meat, nothing else. All I had was meat. And I actually ate lean cuts of meat, which could have been dangerous, really, when I think about it. I guess I had youth on my side because I never really had any problem with the lack of fat. I'd choose cuts of meat like round and sirloin. These things had very little fat. They had only a little bit more fat in them than chicken and fish. So I was essentially eating a pure protein diet. Now, how did it work? It worked spectacularly. I'm not going to lie. I mean, it peeled the fat off me like crazy. And quite honestly, I never had any problems. Amazingly, I didn't use a fiber supplement. I don't remember ever getting constipation or any of the side effects associated with lack of fiber. I don't understand I can't explain why that happened, but it might have happened, and I don't remember. I just don't remember. But I would stay on a meat and water diet for an average of 6 to 8 weeks. In other words, up to 2 months. And then I'd get off it and go back to a regular diet where I included a greater variety of food. And I used this diet to prepare for a number of bodybuilding contests, especially as a teenager. And I have to, again, I tell you, it peeled all the fat off me. My abs were shredded. I mean, it worked very well in that regard. But here's the key point. I used the diet short term. I never stayed on the diet more than 6 to 8 weeks maximum. So I never had the problem of experiencing the long-term possible side effects that I mentioned earlier, such as dysbiosis or problems with the intestinal microbiome due to lack of fiber. I didn't realize I just automatically took supplements back then. I took a couple of vitamin supplements. I did take vitamin C and E, so I didn't really experience any nutritional deficiencies. Only because everybody, all the guys, everybody was taking those vitamin supplements back then, and I did not use any protein supplement when I went on it. So that's my personal experience. So the bottom line, what I'd say about the carnivore diet is that I think it's okay for short term. I don't believe all these miracle testimonials about curing autoimmune diseases and relieving tendinitis and ameliorating long-term depression. I don't buy any of that. I think a lot of that's the placebo effect, because there's nothing really inherent in eating only meat that will improve those conditions. But as a short-term diet for weight loss, Because of the high protein feature of the diet, you will maintain your muscle mass, because on any diet, when you reduce calories, you have to increase the protein intake, otherwise you'll lose muscle mass. And this diet has an inherent high protein content because you're literally eating only meat. I think, personally, I think a better way to do it would be to eat not just red meat and poultry, but also to include seafood for the reasons I mentioned earlier, because the fatty fish, seafood, is the best natural source of omega-3 fatty acids, and also other nutritional elements such as taurine, which is very good for your heart and nervous system and helps you relax. So I think that if you're going to do the carnivore diet, you should also make sure you eat some form of seafood. If you're not going to have the seafood for some reason, you better ingest a omega-3 supplement, preferably fish oil, at least 2 to 4 grams a day. Again, if you don't want to take vitamins, you better take a vitamin D supplement. Again, I would recommend at least 2,000 units of vitamin D. Again, it all depends on how long you stay. If you stay on this diet for 4 or 5 weeks, nothing's going to really happen because it takes a while to develop these nutritional deficiencies. But if you want to stay on this carnivore diet for 6 months, a year or longer, you better supplement it. You're going to be in trouble no matter what these people say. Trust me, this diet is lacking a lot of nutrients. So, that's what I'll say. Good for short term, not so good for long term. That's the carnivore diet. And that's about all I'm going to say about the carnivore diet. Obviously, it's just the opposite of a vegan diet, but that's another story. But also, I'll leave you with one thing. Don't believe the nonsense that some people are writing in critiques about the carnivore diet. About that, it'll cause heart disease because of the fat content. It's hard on the kidneys because of the protein content. That's all bullshit. And these people don't know their ass from their elbow. And I don't care what their degrees are. They're full of crap. It's not going to happen. If you eliminate carbohydrates and you eat only fat, again, the fat's going to be oxidized when you're active. It's not going to cause atherosclerosis. That's so silly. It's ridiculous. These people should be embarrassed to even say that or write it. If you want further information about nutrition, food supplements, exercise science, ergogenic aids, hormonal therapy, anti-aging research, fat loss techniques that really work, women's health and fitness, subscribe today to my Applied Metabolics newsletter. 40 to 50 pages every month. Solid evidence-based information, no BS, no bro science. It contains just total evidence-based information plus my 57 years of constant study and empirical experience, which is unmatched in this entire industry. Frankly, I don't want to sound obnoxious or, I don't want to put a halo over my head, but I don't know anyone who has my degree of experience in these subjects. A lot of these young guys have their PhDs and they're fresh out of college. They don't have the experience. I was working on and studying this stuff when they weren't even thought of, much less born. So, if you want the voice of experience, you come to me. I will show you. I include in the newsletter everything I've learned over the years, so you don't make the same mistakes I've made and many others have made. It's an excellent source of information for trainers and anyone who wants to know in-depth information. Again, that's appliedmetabolics.com. When you subscribe, I will send you an invitation to join my private Applied Metabolics Facebook page, where each day I add new information on nutrition, supplements, health, and exercise science. Every day I add stuff. I also have discussions on the Facebook page. And for subscribers, there's an email portal on the Applied Metabolics website where you could send me suggestions that you want me to cover in the newsletter. Also, you can ask me short questions. I will respond to current subscribers, but I don't respond to non-subscribers or people that have canceled. I won't answer their questions because I look at this as a benefit for my subscribers. So that's about it. I don't know what else I can say other than to go to your local shelter, adopt a dog. It's the greatest animals, the most loving. Dogs provide. Having had several dogs, I will make a flat statement. I think dogs provide the most unconditional love that you will ever experience in your life. Literally, their whole lives are for you. They live for you. Dogs have been genetically bred over centuries to be man's best friend, and they truly are. I've loved every single dog I've had, and I know they've loved me, and I can't imagine not having a dog. So go to your local shelter, save one of these guys. You won't be sorry. Thanks for listening.